So we are down to the final stretch in the National League North, with most teams having around 10 or 11 games left to play, and the race for promotion is super tight with the top three only separated by a point. So let's go through the table and take a look at who could potentially get promoted automatically and who is in contention for the playoffs. So in the National League North, first place gets automatic promotion, then second to seventh go into the playoffs, and currently top of the table only by goal difference on 67 points is Chester. Now coming into the season, Chester were most people's favourites for the title. However, at the start of November, Chester were all the way down in 14th. There was a game away at Curzon where they looked a complete shambles, giving stupid goals away, and they ended up losing 4-0. The away end in that game turned very toxic, and manager Callum McIntyre was under a lot of pressure. But rather than sacking him, they gave him some funds to strengthen the team. He was able to bring in the likes of Finn Roberts, Connor Woods, Dan Mooney and Jimmy Storer, who came in and added quality in the right areas. Callum McIntyre's Chester teams are always solid defensively, but over December and January it finally started to click in the final third, and they went on this incredible run, going 10 games unbeaten, winning 7 on the bounce as they flew up the table into first. However, the last 3 games Chester have started to slip up with 3 very unconvincing performances against 3 bottom 6 sides, and they slipped down to 12th in the form table. Apart from the first half against Needham Market where they missed some gilt-edged chances, they've just looked very flat and missing that spark going forwards. Winger Finn Roberts was recalled by Crewe, which hasn't helped. Top scorer Charlie Caton was sold to Accrington back in January. Defensive midfielder Jack Bainbridge, who's probably been Chester's player of the season, is out injured and they really miss his physicality in the middle. At the moment they are clinging on to top spot. They've hit a bit of a slump at the wrong time and they desperately need to rediscover their firepower up front if they're to maintain their title challenge. Now on to second place, it is Brackley, who are level on points with Chester, but Brackley do have a game in hand over Chester and they will want to get promoted automatically because their record in the playoffs is horrific. Brackley have made the playoffs an incredible 6 seasons in a row, but for 6 seasons in a row they have failed to gain promotion. Over the summer they retained virtually all of last season's squad that finished third, but also added plenty of quality to the side. They brought in winger Matt Lowe, who's been superb and scored 11 goals so far. They also made striker Connor Hall's loan permanent and he's found the net 15 times this season. They signed attacking midfielder Scott Pollock, who you may know from his days at #United, and goalkeeper Johnny Maxted has came in, keeping 13 clean sheets, so their recruitment has been spot on. They still have last season's top scorer Danny Newton waiting to return from injury. He netted 19 goals last season but has been sidelined with an injury for most of this season, but if they can get him back fit, it will give them even more options in attack. And while Chester have hit a slump at the worst possible time, Brackley are in red hot form, winning 11 of their last 14 games. They are a big physical side who are excellent from set pieces but also have plenty of individual quality, and based on current form they look the most likely to go on and get automatic promotion. In third place it is Scunthorpe, who sit 1 point behind Chester and Brackley, but they do have a game in hand over top of the table Chester. Now Scunthorpe are a very tricky side to beat this season. They've only lost 1 game in the last 3 months, however in that run there has been far too many draws which has held them back. Defensively they're very solid with the best defence in the league, keeping 20 clean sheets, but there are some concerns up front with their main striker Danny Whitesall out injured. Their other striking options aren't exactly setting the world alight, with Mark Beck only scoring 1 in 18 and Carlton, who's been improving as of late but he's only scored 2 in 24. In Whitesall's absence they'll be looking towards winger Callum Roberts to get the goals, who's been superb, scoring 16 goals this season, and midfield Alfie Beeston has been able to chip in, scoring 8 goals so far, with 2 of them coming against Darlington last Tuesday. To bolster their attack they brought in striker Chris Rare, who was excellent for Tamworth last season on a month's loan, in the hope that he can provide the firepower until Whitehall is back fit. But overall Scunthorpe are in good form. They just need to turn more of these draws into wins, like on Saturday where they created loads of chances against Buxton but a failure to take them meant they drew 1-1. But either way the promotion race is looking like it could go down to the wire, and I expect Scunthorpe will be in the mix come the end of it. Now it does look like it's going to be a 3-horse race between Chester, Brackley and Scunthorpe for that one automatic promotion spot, but an outside shout is 4th place Hereford, who aren't too far behind. They're only 4 points off the top spot and have won 8 of their last 10 games, and they've improved massively as the season has gone on. At one point their attacking plan seemed to be just give the ball to winger Cisse and hope he provides some magic with his attacking flair, but now they've got a striker banging form in Ramey Campbell, who looks an inspired signing. After losing striker Montel Gibson early on in the season, they've been looking for a big target man to replace him, so they brought in Campbell from Matlock. He's a big physical striker at 6'1", and he has been superb, scoring 4 goals in his first 5 games. Winger Jaden White was brought in back in November and he started slowly but he's been excellent over the last month. They've just brought in attacking midfielder Kieran Glynn from Scarborough, who is a superb talent and glides past players with ease. Midfielder Alex Babos is starting to come into his own after a poor first half to the season, so they've got lots of attacking options, all in good form. They sit 4 points from top, but they don't have a game in hand like Brackley and Scunthorpe do, so I think automatic promotion is maybe a step too far, but either way they're certain to make the playoffs, and let's see how they get on. Another outside shout is 5th place Chorley, who are 6 points off top spot with a game in hand over Chester and Hereford, but realistically the playoffs is looking their most likely route to promotion, and I think finishing in the playoffs would be a superb achievement when you consider that their attack, which was so lethal last season, was dismantled over the summer. Winger Justin Johnson, who scored 14 and got 11 assists, left for Macclesfield. Carlton, who scored 15 goals, left for Scunthorpe. Attacking midfielder Jack Hazelhurst, who scored 10, left for Burton Albion. So that was their 3 top scorers all gone. Replacing those goals was always going to be a tough task, but this season Chorley are the 5th top scorers in the division, helped by the fact that they are the best team at set pieces that I've seen at this level. Centre-back Mark Ellis is their top scorer with 11 goals, which is an incredible return for a centre-back and shows how reliant they are on set pieces for goals. They do have some exciting young talents in this team with George Horbury, Tom Carr and Dubameze, but it's a massive shame that winger Craig Hewitt is out till the end of the season, as he was terrifying defences early on in the season and looks some player. After a brilliant run going 10 games unbeaten, Chorley have had a couple of poor results lately which has seen them drop off from the title race, and they'll be looking over their shoulder now as they sit just 3 points above 8th place, so they need to be careful not to drop out of the playoffs entirely, and they've got 2 tough games coming up against Chester and Curzon, so let's see how they get on. Now on to 6th placed it is Kidderminster Harriers, and those final playoff spots are very tight at the moment, with just a 2-point cushion keeping them inside the top 7, although they do have 1 or 2 games in hand over the sides above them. Now Phil Brown's Kidderminster side were flying at one stage. On Boxing Day they were sat top of the table after an outstanding 3-0 win away at Hereford, and they were playing some of the best football in the division, but the year started dreadfully with a 1-0 defeat at home to a Rushall Olympic side that hadn't won in 16 games, and that really set the tone for what has been a poor 2025. Fans have been getting very frustrated with Phil Brown, citing bizarre team selections. They have the problem of only having one fit striker in Amari Morgan-Smith, who at the age of 36 is having to lead the line week in, week out, and he really needs another striker to come in and help to take the load off him, but no reinforcements have arrived and they've remained very reliant on Ashley Hemmings for goals, who scored 17 this season. After a 3-1 defeat to Spennymoor, Brown didn't hold back in his post-match interview and was brutal in his assessment, stating that the players played like they wanted him sacked and accused them of playing with no pride or ambition. At that point we thought surely Brown had lost the dressing room, but that interview clearly worked as they followed that up with a 2-0 win against Kings Lynn where they were excellent, and then a 6-0 win away at Farsley Celtic, although Farsley are in a mess themselves and fielded a youth team, but you can only play what's in front of you, and after such a torrid run, those 2 results should inspire some confidence and give Kidderminster something to build on in this final run of games. In 7th place, occupying that final playoff spot, is Kings Lynn, who sit just 1 point inside the playoffs. They had a very promising first half of the season, but a poor run of form saw them slip out of the playoff positions. However, a much improved performance in their 3-1 home win over South Shields last time out has lifted them back into 7th. Over the last few weeks, Kings Lynn have been struggling to score and create, with striker Johnny Magret's yet to get going since his return from injury. He's really struggled playing as the lone striker. When you look back at last season when he was so lethal, he had Owen Devonport up front with him to play off, so against South Shields manager Adam Lakeland changed things up, opting for a front 2, bringing in Gold Omateo with Magret's playing off him, and this worked a treat with Omateo scoring 2 and Magret's getting on the score sheet as well. 2 seasons ago Omateo scored 21 goals in this division for Kings Lynn, but he's been very underwhelming so far this season, so let's see if those 2 goals give him the confidence boost he needs, because a fully firing Omateo and Magret's partnership could be very promising and solve their recent goal scoring issues. But for now, Kings Lynn remain in 7th and need to build on the South Shields win if they're to remain in the playoffs come the end of the season. Now in 8th place and just outside the playoffs by a point is Curzon. However, they do have 2 or 3 games in hand over the sides above them. Around mid-December time, Curzon were in a superb position, top of the table, 5 points clear with games in hand. Defensively they looked formidable with only 11 goals conceded in 20 games and 16 clean sheets in all competitions. They were attacking teams at speed with a bunch of direct pacey players and looked like they were capable of running away with the title, but unfortunately for Curzon they hit a bad run of form, only winning 2 of their next 10 games. The main problem for some time now has been not taking their chances, especially at home. If they had sorted that out over the summer, I'd have no doubt they'd be fighting for automatic promotion, because they move the ball around well, they create enough chances, but they just aren't clinical enough. The big positive for Curzon is that they've still got 6 of the bottom 7 left to play, so the fixture list is quite kind to them, and if they can rediscover their early season form, that would help massively in the push for the playoffs. Now in 9th place it is Buxton, who sit 4 points outside of the playoffs. This season has been a significant shift for the club as they've transitioned from being part-time to full-time status. Only 4 players from last season's squad were retained, so it's been a big overhaul for them. They brought in manager John McGrath from Mickle Sports to oversee that change. He's recruited a very young team. There was a clear strategy over the summer of signing youth players who've got potential, and they are a very energetic team. They have lots of possession and like to keep the ball on the ground, and for much of the season they've been in around the playoffs, around 5th or 6th, but a 6-game winless run has seen them slip down the table into 9th. Now during this this winless run, they haven't played too badly. They've just come out the wrong side of some very tight games where they've more than matched the opposition. Over the last month, goals have really dried up and they need the likes of Johnny Johnston, Ollie Ewing and Luke Brennan to find their scoring boots, and for all their youth and pace, they are lacking height and physicality, which has seen them concede some easy goals, and if they are to make the playoffs, they need to get back to winning ways. Now below Buxton, someone would have to go on a really good run in order to get into the playoffs, and in 10th place we have Peterborough Sports, who sit 7 points off, but with 8th place Curzon having games in hand, that gap could end up getting bigger. But at the start of the season, Peterborough were the bookies' favourites to get relegated. Over the summer they lost 2 very good centre-backs in Rory McCauley and Connor Johnson. They lost one of the best central midfielders in the league in Josh Buchanan. Then in November they lost 2 of their best players in Dion Sendy-Ferris and Dan Lawler, who both joined Spalding United at the same time. So they lost a lot of very good players and they've done remarkably well to be in 10th, but it is a big gap to overturn with just 10 games left to play. But whatever happens, it's been a superb season for Peterborough Sports. In 11th place we can't rule out Spennymoor just yet, because even though they sit 9 points off the playoffs, they do have 3 games in hand. Now it'll be a big ask to win all those 3 games, but if they do, they'll put themselves in contention, and they've been in great form, winning 5 of their last 6 in the league. They're also in the semi-final of the FA Trophy, but it's going to be a tough run-in when you look at the players they've got missing. The likes of top scorer Glenn Taylor and their best midfielder Rob Ramshaw both came off injured last Tuesday against Marine, and those are 2 very important players, so I think the playoffs will be just out of reach. In 12th place, Darlington sit 9 points off the playoffs with 2 games in hand, but they aren't exactly playing well at the moment with 3 losses in a row, and it's been the same story all season. Defensively they've been good, and that's helped them come through some tight games and pick up results, but they aren't anywhere near as clinical in front of goal as they need to be to make the playoffs. They need someone more prolific up front to partner Cedric Main. They've tried striker Jack Maskell, who they signed from Dunstan FC, and he's very highly rated, but it looks like the National League North is a step too big for him at the moment with only 4 goals in 29 games. They've tried Andy Nelson up top with Main, but he's only scored 3 goals in 17. They brought in 19-year-old striker Hazim Bakra on loan from Middlesbrough, who looked quite promising in his first few games, but he's just been coming off the bench now and doesn't look like the answer. And if they are to push for the playoffs, Darlington needs to be more clinical in front of goal. So that is where we'll leave that, and in a few weeks' time I'll take a look at the bottom half of the table to see how the relegation battle is shaping up.